Welcome back to Alberta Impact. I'm your host, Bryce Lambert. Joining me tonight is the Director of Applied Research and Innovation Services at SAIT, who is also one of the board members for Alberta Science Tech Foundation, Mr. Rick Tofani. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah,
this is
pleased
super
to
cool.
be here.
You betcha. So kind of give me like actually, first off, 30-year milestone. That's pretty awesome. 2019, so that's a big feather in your guys' cap.
Yes.
And so that congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Can you kind of give me like a bit of an elevator pitch, if you would, on what the organization is all about, kind of how you came to be, and what you do?
Sure. So ASTech was created really out of a need to celebrate innovation and science and discovery and all of those things in Alberta back in probably 1987, but the first Aztec Awards weren't until 1989. And it wasn't common across the country then. There may have been a few other jurisdictions that were celebrating science and innovation, but in Alberta we knew we had some very special people. And at the time, the Alberta government was doing a job to finance those researchers and finance some of that early stage pilot stuff that would eventually lead to some early discoveries. But it was about getting that momentum going, that people said, hey, we can do that here in Alberta. Yeah, we can do oil and gas, and those things are really, really important back then. But we can also do things related to medical, to pure technology plays, to agriculture. And so ASTech set up with a broad group of categories in those sectors, plus small business, large business, and said, we're going to celebrate this, and we're going to give out these really cool awards, and we're going to have a big gala, because back then the gala was the big way to go, and everybody wanted to celebrate with the black tie, and away we go. And then 30 years later, we have a much lower key presentation that appeals to our same audiences, but people who would rather spend 2 hours at a gala event and receive the awards and hear the stories and see what great things we're still doing. Gotcha. 30 years later. So yeah. We've changed the award, we've changed our dress, we have a little bit lighter atmosphere, but we're still giving out those prestigious awards.
Gotcha. And how have the categories kind of changed in these awards segments? Technology grows so fast, and in 30 years, we've seen an insane growth in technology. So how have the categories kind of changed from where the foundation or the organization kind of began and to where we are today?
Yeah, I think we've morphed with the customer base almost. Way back when we had leadership in science, leadership in technology, leadership in education, small business, large business, agriculture, the health, the standard sort of areas. Over the time, they've morphed a little bit. And then this year coming up, we're thinking about innovation leaders. We'll still probably have science leaders. We'll still probably have an award for the best discovery, because we need to know and celebrate the discoveries that are happening. But we'll also have women in science. And we hope to have an Aboriginal or Indigenous award this year coming up. So we'll start to shift the awards with the times in categories that people recognize as being more modern. We'll definitely have a digital one, and we'll definitely have an ICT award.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right on. And how about the participation? How's the participation changed over in I know you guys have a STEM program now, which is starting to more focus on some of the youth initiatives and the youth push for technology and innovation. How's that kind of flown? How have you seen that change over the years?
Yeah, so we started with none of that, actually. We just had an awards banquet every year. And then one day somebody said, we need to bring in the young people into this so they can demonstrate their technology. And now it's really gotten into young students and young entrepreneurs with startup companies. And we call that the Next Gen Showcase. Awesome. So basically it's a combination of students and startup companies that are coming in to show their wares and what they've done to the people that attend. And today we were just talking about, we wonder how many of those folks are actually getting carry-on investment or carry-on interest. So that's another stat we're going to start picking up because it's important that of the 400 people that attend ASTech every year, that we actually see some people, some next-gen showcase people, getting some interest and then maybe even getting some investment from some of these interested people.
Awesome. That sounds good. So can you give us you've had a lot, like you guys have the book out with a lot of the success stories of some of these individuals that you guys have nurtured along the way and given awards and recognized. Do you have any of your more favorite or any that kind of stand out for you?
Yeah, well, I have one that stands out for me because the gentleman still works for me.
Okay.
Glenn Caitler was an instructor at SAIT who wanted to become a scientist and got involved in the early days with cattle ear tags.
Oh, okay.
And now every animal in the country that is on a farm has to have an ear tag.
Yeah.
So they put in about 6 million new tags every year. And Glenn still works in cattle tagging, and he's trying to take it to the next stage by monitoring cattle using drones.
Holy jeez.
So he's still working at it. He's semi-retired, and he's still doing a great thing. So that's one that's close to me.
Yeah.
But we've had the diabetes cure or near cure for diabetes that's made its way to commercialization down in the U.S. That happens quite a bit. We've had antibacterial medications or applications that were developed here that are on the marketplace still. And they're so ingrained into that whole practice, like we've even lost track of who did that and what company it is because everybody's using that product. We've had people who've been involved with brain imaging and being able to detect things like clots on brain scans that you look at on an iPhone. Now, today we might say, well, that's no big deal, but that actually started 10 years ago. That was a big deal.
No kidding.
So the science behind not so much being able to detect where the issue was, but getting that onto an iPhone so that a doctor could look at it on the fly and say, yes, this patient's at great risk, take care, I'll be right there, so to speak. So that, those kinds of things were developed in Alberta. Countless things in the oil and gas industry, from SAGD to how to reduce oil sands from its current form into a liquid form, to how do we move that stuff to market on the transportation side, and lots of environmental awards on things that we've done to clean up oil sands and clean up the industry and clean up the environment in general. We have a publication now that celebrates 30 years of ASTech. You can buy it online at aztech.ca, and it tells the story of over 100 celebrated successes. We've actually celebrated 500 times in the past 30 years people who are either winners or finalists, all good projects, good opportunities. And that book describes probably 100 of the most prestigious of those, and some we may have even missed, and our apologies to those if we did, but there's 100 good stories in there.
But that's so fantastic to hear that there is such a mass positive outcome from what's happening here in Alberta, and 30 years of it, and that's just the start, of what's happened and how things have kind of changed over the years, and we're still pushing forward. So these are super great, and organizations like yours is really needed to commemorate these people and encourage these people.
Yeah, we think that it's really important to celebrate with an award that, the Academy Award of Technology in Alberta. There's a certain amount of prestige to winning an ASTech Award. There's lots of other award programs out there, but we'd like to think, because we were initially created to celebrate that technology development and that company success, that we're kind of the award that stands out above by itself. That if you've won an ASTech Award, you've really achieved that plateau of success. And really, we hope that draws investors and interested parties to work with those people at that milestone point in their career to help them go to the next level.
Yeah.
So, if the diabetes cure got press in ASTech, that actually got them the funding that they needed to move into the marketplace, then we'd like to say, that's what we're really trying to do. We're trying to be that starting point. Yeah. And you can do that by having an award that's well recognized. And we think we're there, but we're always a little bit both naive and a little bit anxious to make sure that we keep pushing to raise the profile of the award.
Definitely. And how about some of the support that you guys have gotten to for your foundation and your organization? Talk about a little bit of some of the support that you've gotten.
Yeah, I would apologize to anybody in advance for missing all of the supporters, because there's hundreds, if not thousands. But those members that are sort of the initial foundational members, who at the current time are people like the Government of Alberta, of course, Economic Development and Trade, University of Calgary, University of Alberta, University of Lethbridge, SAIT, and NAIT, and then we get into Innovate Calgary, the Corteva, which used to be Dow and DuPont, and then we also have Worley Parsons now. We have TELUS, and the list goes on and on and on. And what these folks have done is they've stayed the course, and they've allowed the organization to operate with at one time probably 3 or 4, but now we're down to 2 full-time employees who are not full-time, but they're responsible for delivering ASTech every year. And it's not a cookie cutter thing. It changes every year to some extent, and these ladies do yeoman's efforts to make it happen every year and make it seem new and fresh every year. But without those initial sponsors to provide that cash that keeps the organization moving forward, we couldn't operate. And without their fresh ideas on how to say, well, maybe do this a little different this year, right? So last year we had some awards with certain titles, and this year we'll have awards with different titles, because out there they say, we need to have an Indigenous award. We need to celebrate Indigenous innovation. We need to celebrate women in innovation and young leaders of tomorrow. And so they help us stay fresh.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right on.
essential to the process.